Hey there, it's JohnBerry555 and welcome to another video. In today's video, well, I'm going to be basically ranking every single Star Wars show and movie. And some things that are other movies, other shows, they're kind of blurring the line, or in some cases, like, yeah, even the holiday specials on this list. So this tier list will be linked down below if you want to do it yourself. But let's jump right on into it. And well, we're going to be starting off with the 2D animated Clone Wars series. So this released, if I remember correctly, before Revenge of the Sith came out. So that tells you that this is a pretty old piece of media. So I'm just going in the order on the bottom, by the way. And well, I gotta say, this has to be A tier. I probably, am I going to use the S tier for any of these? I don't know yet. Maybe I'll up something there at the end. But yeah, this is, I mean, pretty phenomenal. Was one of the earlier things of Star Wars that I watched, I know. But yeah, it's just a great show. Check it out if you haven't. This was actually the first canonical appearance of both Asajj Ventress and General Grievous. So there, it's pretty interesting. And granted, it's not technically canon anymore as a show. This is technically will be considered Legends. But I mean, it is still a great show worth checking out. And except for a few things here and there, and a few things in the new, and like only more recently, are actually starting to contradict some of the especially earlier stuff. Because I know there was some intention of making the Clone Wars too. Well, try to keep that as the word I'm looking for is respected as possible, you know, making the idea like, oh, these events also happened just not in the Clone Wars series that we got, the Clone Wars. Oh, and they split up volumes 1 and 2 on this list for some reason. Okay. But anyhow, we're going to jump on up and we're going to do Star Wars Ewoks. Now, if you are relatively new to the channel, one of my earlier videos was literally a tier list of basically the Star Wars animated shows. I'm actually trying to. I'll link that video in the cards and below. I'm trying to actually remember what I called it. It was one of my early ones. I'm literally just looking up for it right now, but in that one, I ranked it pretty high because the theme song, at least I've there's two versions of the theme song, but it's actually the theme song was what really gave it the edge over the others. Now, do I do the same thing now? Oh yeah, here's that video. So yeah, I honestly don't know if I'm going to rank it that high this time, only because I'm ranking these off of the show itself, not the theme songs and show and movie itself. But still, I'm trying to remember. I've only seen a few episodes. I have a few of them, and I know I've seen some others. I just never seen the entire show. That's the same thing with Star Wars Droids. It's on here too, right? Again, yeah, Ewoks and Droids. Those two shows are basically some of the earliest Star Wars spin-offs there, and both of them are definitely of early legends. Just lots of weird stuff. I will have to say, the theme song still is. I mean, that's bumping up Ewoks to B. I've only seen like 2 or 3 episodes. Same thing with Droids. And Droids, I'm going to put down on F. But Ewoks, oh yeah, what I saw, I really did enjoy. It's been a while, so yeah. But I gotta be honest. Okay, next up, well, we're gonna be the Mandalorian, and there's no doubt about that. That is A tier. I mean, it's just some of the best Star Wars ever out there. It really doesn't matter. Movie, show, game, doesn't matter. It's one of the best ones ever. So there's that. Next up, well, we're going to go with The Last Jedi. Now, this may be a hot take, but I actually enjoyed all 3 films of the sequel trilogy. So yeah, no, I will admit some were stronger than others, and I'm going to do my best to reflect that in this tier list. And because of that, I'm going to put The Last Jedi at B tier, so still solid, but just not quite up there in the best. Next up is Attack of the Clones, F. Yeah, it's my least favorite of the Star Wars films. I just gotta be honest. Mainly because I didn't care for the romantic subplot between Anakin and Padme. not necessarily a complaint against Hallmark films, but it was like George Lucas watched a Hallmark film and decided that's how he was going to do the romance, but didn't quite understand how Hallmark films work. And yeah, and it just did not work for me at all. Now Obi-Wan story is good. It's mainly just because I didn't really like how that romance portrayed. And when in Star Wars itself, we got much better romances portrayed. And of course, there's also other better romances out there in film and television too. And some of which I may actually, I don't know if I'm ever going to talk about that stuff outside the context of those individual shows. But like one show I want to talk about, Cinema Chain, The Owl House, has an excellent romance because I think it's realistic in the sense that, I mean, a person like me who's never been in a relationship and often, is nervous about that could relate to such a romance. So that tells you something. And it wasn't even the kind of romance I would be in. Because, yeah. But that's for a talk about another time. Next up is Revenge of the Sith. And you know what? I'm going to put that at B tier as well. It's a good, solid film. Is it the best? No. But it's still a good film. Lots of action. It's showing Anakin's fight to the dark side, especially after the Clone Wars aired. It really provides a bunch more context. Next up is The Force Awakens, which I'm going to put this at B tier as well. It's not quite A tier, but it's the strongest of the sequel trilogy in my opinion. I will say that. I do think it is the strongest of the bunch. Probably because it had the least the least expectations about it. It had probably the most to live up towards, but also the least pressure on it. But at the same time, the most kind of a paradox. But I'll put it this way: we knew we were getting new Star Wars. We hoped it was good, but we were not sure exactly what we were getting. But after that, we had much more solid expectations about the direction we wanted the sequel trilogy to go and the direction Star Wars to go. And I think that hurt The Last Jedi and TROS in public perception because of said expectations. And actually, since I'm talking about TROS, let's throw it up here. I'm putting it at C tier. I do firmly believe it was a decent, solid film, just not the strongest of the sequel trilogy. There's nothing else to say about it. I just feel like it wasn't the strongest I could have been. Well, next up we're going to have Solo. And you know what? I enjoyed Solo, but I am going to put that at the C tier as well. I think Solo's biggest problem was it was too nostalgic, for lack of a better term. And, it was also released at a terrible time. Didn't do it a favor. Too close to the Last Jedi, and also like within a week of like the biggest film ever. I believe that was the same year that Infinity War came out, or was it Endgame? Basically, a big Marvel film released about the same time as Solo, so that did not help it. I mean, it was just given a bad release time and all that, which hurt it. But I still think it was a good, solid film, just not as good as some of the other ones out there. Well, we're going to actually save the original trilogy for last, but we're going to go up to Solo, which I'm also putting at the B tier. A good, solid film. I did enjoy it more than Solo. Probably because, it was a unique story. Not necessarily a unique story, but unique in Star Wars. Sure, we had gotten stories of the Death Star plans before, but most of them were mainly in video games or in books. Well, Solo was a Han Solo story, and we've gotten several Han Solo stories before, but Rogue One was different, even different from all the other Steal the Death Star plan stories, probably because of how well it tied into A New Hope. In many ways, it was a prequel to A New Hope. I could so easily see that you edit out the closing credits of Rogue One and you stitch it right before A New Hope and play them together, and I guarantee you, it will flow very seamlessly. Sure, there might be some visual quality difference because of the age of technology and the tech when each film was made, but the thing is, you could flow between them almost seamlessly, in my opinion. And you could skip the crawl then in A New Hope too, because the crawl is literally the basis for Rogue One. But let's move on to, I believe, is this Kelvin and Courage? Yes, it is. I haven't seen it. I am literally looking at my disc of it, and I haven't seen it. Same thing with the other Battle of Ewoks from Battle Vendor. I haven't seen it. Next up is Forces of Destiny. I haven't seen it. And same thing, Galaxy Adventure. I haven't seen. Okay, I have seen some of it, both of those, but not really enough to like give a good and informed opinion. Not like Ewoks and Droids, which I have seen much more and really dedicated to watching them. So those two haven't seen down there. Okay, so let's actually talk about the holiday special now. And what do I have to say? It's the holiday special. Detail. Yes, I am seriously putting it at detail. Why? Because it's so bad, it's good. Does that make sense? It's one of those like, it's just lots of bad stuff, terrible stuff in there, really. It's just not a well put together piece of media. I don't want to call it a movie or film, so let's just call it a piece of media. But it weirdly works because it's so bad. There's some good elements in there. In fact, I hope I still have it on one of my old hard drives, but I'm never going to release this because of copyright. But I did an edit of it where I trimmed out all the bad stuff. It was one of the first editing things I ever did, so that tells you something. But I literally cut out at least half of its runtime, probably a bit more. I need to go see if I can find it, but I'm putting holiday special in detail, so there is that. So next up, well, as I said, we're saving that stuff for last. We're going to talk about let's finish up the prequel trilogy with another film, Phantom Menace, C tier. In my opinion, the Phantom Menace's biggest problem was it was too early, especially too early in reference to the other two films, the prequels, Attack of the Clones. That like 10-year gap. Now, if there was a bigger gap between Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith, I think it will work better. But because of that, it kind of jaws us from the rest of it. Like in some ways, it should have been a prequel to the prequels, if that makes sense. Okay, so now we got one more film to talk about. That's right, the Clone Wars film, which really was just the first 4 episodes that they decided to release as a film, which did it disservice. But I am putting that higher than Attack of the Clones. Detail. Actually, it is much better than the holiday special. But it has some flaws. Like, I rewatched it a couple months ago, and like you can tell, it was the earliest animation of the show. And you can just tell that they were just beginning. But man, by the end of that show, yeah, because of what at the end of the Clone Wars, it makes it probably gonna be what I'm gonna say is the only S tier on here. I just realized the and let's see. Okay, sorry. The Clone Book of Boba Fett's not on here, and I don't know how to add images to TierList yet. Haven't figured that out. But if I was having to put it on here, C or D tier, I haven't thought too much. I enjoyed it. It's not as good as Mandalorian. But I think I am going to say, let's go with C tier. Oh no, B tier. C or B. This just goes. I haven't really figured it out yet. Well, next up, well, we're going to go with Rebels, and that is A tier. Been rocking in this first season, but by season 4 is some of the best Star Wars out there. It has to go up in A tier. Notice the TV shows are ranking higher than the films. I wonder why. Actually, I do think there's a good reason why, because the shows have much more ability, much more time to actually slow down and basically evaluate the characters to delve into them, to really analyze them, see what makes them take to tell compelling stories. Movies are more limited in time. Obi-Wan Kenobi is not on here as well, I just realized, but that is purely an A or B tier. I probably need to rewatch it, give it some thought, but Obi-Wan Kenobi is definitely A or B tier as well. So yeah. In fact, let's make Book of Boba Fett B tier and Kenobi A tier. So just imagine I've jotted it down on her somehow. So that means Star Wars Resistance, which I do think are the actual animated shows, because if we discount Droids and Ewoks, it probably is the weakest. But you know what? It is cheaper. It's good. It's solid. Season 2 I think was definitely better than Season 1. In fact, I actually reviewed all of them, so if you can find that playlist. In fact, I'll be sure to link that playlist as well. So yeah, I got a couple things I need to remember to link now, but if not, just let me know and I'll be sure to get it in. And all those links will also be down below in the description. So that just seems the original trilogy films, and I would say these are probably the toughest ones for me to rank. Return of the Jedi, B tier. First Star Wars film I ever saw, so that probably does impact my enjoyability, my likes of it. But I very much enjoyed it. I think it's definitely a very solid film. Empire Strikes Back and A New Hope are both going to be A tier. I literally have to put them on the same. I never know which of those two I prefer. One day it's going to be A New Hope, the next day it's going to be Empire Strikes Back. New Hope, of course, started the franchise, so we have to give it that credit. But Empire Strikes Back was continuing the franchise. I mean, the first sequel, and unlike many film franchises, the sequel is not a rehash of the first film. Excellent thing, and I'm really glad that they did that. But there you go, that is my tier list. So just imagine Obi-Wan Kenobi in A tier, and Book of Boba Fett in B tier. I wish I had those images on here, but unfortunately I don't, so I can't represent them, but just, that's what they're going to be. So as a reminder, the link to the tier list will be down below, so if you want to do it, you can. Also, feel free to share your list with me on social media. On Reddit, my Reddit is allstats.stuckinbay555, so go check that out. Feel free to post your tier list there. And a bunch of other stuff. Check out the links down below, you know the drill. So thank you for watching. If you haven't done so already, feel free to like, upvote, share, subscribe, follow, heart. You know the drill. Check out the links down below. And as always, have a good day, a good night, wherever you are. May the Force be with you always.